Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for my client Robbie's vlogs. And Robert is taking a deload week this week. We deload for him every fourth week. And again, I have a couple of clients who do this. I've noticed it tends to oftentimes correlate with them being hard gainers, or in some cases, my people who have really, really physically demanding jobs and lifestyles, in which case we deload it, as often as every fourth week for some of them. But I want people to understand this is not the norm. I have clients who almost never deload, who do sometimes even more work than these guys, and that's on the other extreme. But I do have them, and for a lot of them, their deloads tend to come in just natural phases. Hey, I've got sick, I got a cold, I went on vacation, going out of town, whatever. Those things happen and it just forces them into a deload, so we just make that work. So they tend to just happen organically. Now, for Robbie, because again, he gets, a fair amount of shoulder inflammation, we're doing his volume even for his deload week with the cambered bar, and I don't care because he's still practicing squats. He's still strong at squats. It doesn't matter what bar we use for this stuff. He's still good at squatting, and that's something I do with a lot of my people is their back off work. If they have specialty bars, a lot of times I let them do their back off work with the bars that they have. One of my guys likes his football bar, so we do his heavier sets on the bench, with a straight bar. And a lot of times he'll use his football bar, just running the same weight and numbers for his back off work. So, we really base it upon what's going on with the person and what they need. And I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm perfectly fine with that as a coach. And in fact, I may start doing more of that myself with all my own stuff again. All right, as far as a lot of my supplemental work, just using my other bars. Again, sometimes they're just easier on shoulders. They give us a different angle to develop things, right? As long as we're getting our quality work in with the bars that we want, right? As far as our heavy work goes, so that we learn the skill of mastering those classic lifts. Because that's important for strength development. It's important for strength development that we have some consistency sometimes with that, unless you're running conjugate, which is a totally different animal. So if we look at his deload weeks, they're pretty straightforward. All right, he just does, squatting. He does some ab work on the squat day. Bench day, we just come in and bench. We bench and then we do light rows because, again, it needs to be light enough that it's a deload. And, since he can't knock out sets of 20 on pull-ups, there's no point in us doing sets of 10 for deloading pull-ups or whatever. So I have him use a barbell and just row. And I do that with a lot of my guys on their deload week. So, his benching, we just bench. We work on good technique, just getting blood flow to the muscles. Then I have him do some rows. And it's just all this, the deload week is usually 5 sets of 10 at 40% of their training max. And that came up too. I had someone in the comments say, well, that just seems too light. And I'm just laughing. It's like, well, clearly you don't understand a deload week. Some people choose to just take time off. I don't recommend that for non-advanced lifters. I don't necessarily recommend that. Although that's what you're going to see me doing more in the future, more for deload type weeks. Myself, it's just going to be, a little bit of lighter work. All right. So, again, his stuff is pretty simple, pretty straightforward there. It's just what he does. 5 sets of 10 on those 2 movements with very light weights. We are staying very far from failure, right? More than 5 reps from failure, even on the last set. Deadlifts, he does the same thing. And then he's going to come back and hit some PRs. Now, he does have a little bit of a cold. He told me he's got a cold coming into his next week. So we discussed already he might go a little easy on the squat day and then assess it. But again, look at Robbie. This guy was as skinny as a toothpick. Now, some people be like, well, he's not super jacked. Well, keeping in mind, he's quite tall. So he's not going to look as thick, but remember what he looked like in the first vlog. And I think that's the shock in the comparison. He at least looks like he lifts. Everyone can look at this guy and be like, yeah, that guy's in shape. He looks like he lifts. Hey, he was skinny as a rail. Like, he looked emaciated, like almost eating disorder emaciated level when we started. But he has a history of doing field sports and stuff, low appetite, a little bit of digestive issues. So we had to work on those things. Right? We had to work on those things. It looked like he chose to do those snatch grip, just for some variation, and I don't mind. All right, instead of going to the gym because it's just a deload, he's like, I don't feel like going to the gym for a deload overhead press. So he just did a seated press. Again, we're worth 40% of his training max, so it's fine. But notice again, we've got good wrist stacking here. Right, we've got good wrist stacking, which is what I want to see. Again, very, very important on this, and he's still managing to get that on the seated press. And then afterwards, he just said that we had footage. He's like, I'll go ahead and do just some of my band work. Because he has a lot of tendon issues, we tend to do a lot of band stuff for his shoulders and for his elbows and everything. So again, we do band press downs for triceps. And this is really our primary tricep exercise. This is our primary tricep exercise for him, is just to do the high rep band work. And he close grip presses anyways. And it's because, again, elbow tendons. He has a lot of history of tendon inflammation, again, very common with you really skinny guys. And so we're spending years just working on that with the bands. Right? We're spending years working on that with the bands. Just keep improving it. Right? Keep improving it. So the band press downs. And I'm perfectly content with that. This it's fine. His triceps have grown. And again, as his benching goes up, as again, his joints allow for it, which again, his benching is his weakest lift. But again, we have shoulder issues that we've had to work around, and he's always had those. They've improved, fortunately. But over time, as we continue to build all the connective tissue, work on shoulder health, all these things, they'll be good. So he does the band press downs. He does, over here, he's doing what I have him do, like just basically pressing. He takes bands, puts them on the rack, and we do presses with them. So notice it just looks like similar to his close grip bench, and we just do high reps with this. Again, just gets blood flow to everything, helps get blood flow to the tendons, all the connective tissue that doesn't have a lot of capillaries. And again, we work on those things this way. And this stuff has helped him. This is stuff we've been doing for quite a while. And it's stuff some of you can try if you have some of these connective tissue issues. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.